It started with a sound I couldn't explain. Not loud. Not sudden. Just, wrong. The kind of noise that slips into your dreams and quietly wakes you up, leaving your heart racing before your mind even understands why. I remember opening my eyes slowly, staring into the darkness of my room, trying to listen. Everything was still. Too still. Then I checked. The screen loaded slowly, like it was hesitating. 3 camera feeds appeared. Front door, empty. Backyard, still. Nothing unusual. I almost laughed at myself. Paranoia at its finest. Then I tapped on the living room camera. At first, everything looked normal. The couch. The coffee table. The dim glow of the streetlight bleeding through the curtains. Exactly how I had left it before going to bed. I was about to close the app when I noticed something. The hallway door. It was slightly open. I froze. I always close that door before going to sleep. Always. It's a habit. Something about seeing a dark hallway at night unsettles me, so I shut it. Every night. Without fail. But now, it was open. Just a few inches. I stared at the screen, my thumb hovering over it, unsure what I was even looking for. Maybe I had forgotten to close it. Maybe I was overthinking. Then the door moved. Not wide. Not sudden. Just, a little more open. My breath caught in my throat. I leaned closer to my phone, as if that would somehow make it clearer. The camera quality wasn't great, but it was enough. Enough to see that the door was moving on its own. Or at least, it looked like it was. I told myself there had to be an explanation. Air pressure. A draft. Old hinges. Anything but what my mind was starting to suggest. Then something stepped into frame. At first, I didn't understand what I was looking at. It wasn't clear. Just a shape. Darker than the shadows around it. Standing in the hallway, partially hidden by the doorframe. I stopped breathing. The figure didn't move. It just stood there. Watching. My fingers trembled as I tried to zoom in, but the image only became more distorted. The shape remained, wrong. Too tall. Too thin. Its head tilted slightly, like it was trying to understand something. Like it was trying to understand me. I blinked, hoping it would disappear. It didn't. Instead, it moved. Slowly, unnaturally, it leaned forward, just enough for its face to catch the faint light from the living room. And that's when I saw it. Oh. I tried to. Because there was no face. Just darkness. A void where a face should be. My phone slipped slightly in my hand as a cold wave of fear washed over me. This wasn't real. It couldn't be real. I was dreaming. I had to be. But then the figure did something that made my blood run cold. It stepped fully into the living room. And the camera glitched. For a split second, the screen flickered. Static. Distortion. Then it stabilized again. The figure was gone. I sat there in silence, my heart pounding so loud it felt like it might burst out of my chest. I stared at the empty living room feed, waiting for something, anything, to happen. Nothing did. The room looked normal again. Peaceful. Like nothing had ever been there. I wanted to believe it was over. But then I noticed something else. The camera angle had changed. Just slightly. Like someone had touched it. Adjusted it. I felt a chill crawl down my spine. Because I hadn't moved. Which meant something else had. My eyes darted to the top corner of the screen where the camera name was displayed. Living room cam. And just below it, a small red dot. Recording. That wasn't normal. The system only records when it detects motion. But the notification hadn't gone off. No alert. No warning. It was just, recording. I tapped on the playback option, my hands shaking as I scrolled back a few minutes. The footage loaded. And there it was again. The door opening. The figure appearing. But this time, something was different. The angle. It wasn't from the living room camera anymore. It was closer. Much closer. Like the camera had been moved, into the hallway. I frowned, confusion mixing with fear. That wasn't possible. I only had one camera in that area, and it was fixed in place. So how? The video continued. The figure stood in front of the camera now. Perfectly still. And then, slowly, it leaned closer. 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 Until its face, if you could call it that, filled the entire screen. Black. Endless. And then, the screen went dark. The playback ended abruptly. I stared at my phone, my mind struggling to process what I had just seen. This wasn't a glitch. This wasn't a dream. Something was in my house. And it knew about the cameras. I slowly lifted my head, my eyes drifting toward my bedroom door. It was closed. Just like I had left it. But now, there was a shadow underneath it. A faint, shifting shadow. Like something was standing on the other side. Waiting. Conclusion. I didn't move. I couldn't. Every instinct in my body screamed at me to run, to hide, to do something, but I was frozen. Trapped between disbelief and pure, paralyzing fear. My phone buzzed suddenly, making me flinch. A notification. From the security app. Motion detected, bedroom door camera. My heart stopped. I don't have a camera in my bedroom. Slowly, painfully slowly. I opened the app again. A new camera feed appeared on the screen. Bedroom cam. Live. My hands shook as I tapped it. The screen loaded. And what I saw was me. Sitting on my bed. Holding my phone. From an angle that could only exist if someone, or something, was already inside the room with me. Behind me. And as I stared at the screen, my own image slowly turned its head. Not toward the camera. But toward something standing just out of view. Right behind me. And that's when the whisper came. Soft. Right next to my ear. You shouldn't have looked. I didn't turn around. Not immediately. Every instinct in my body was screaming at me to move, to jump up, to run. But something deeper, something more primal, held me in place. Because in that moment, I understood something terrifying. If I turned around, whatever was behind me would no longer just exist on the screen. It would be real. My breathing became shallow, uneven, as I stared at my phone. The live feed still showed me sitting there, frozen on my bed. But behind me, just at the edge of the frame, something shifted. Not fully visible. Just enough to know it was there. Watching. Waiting. I felt its presence before I saw it. Cold. Heavy. Wrong. And then, the feed glitched. Body. The screen distorted violently, pixels stretching and tearing as if something was interfering with the signal. My image froze mid-breath, my face pale and unmoving. For a second, I thought the camera had disconnected. But then it came back. Only now. I wasn't alone in the frame anymore. Something stood directly behind me. Tall. Thin. Its outline barely distinguishable from the darkness, like it was absorbing the light around it instead of reflecting it. Its head tilted at an unnatural angle, almost curious, almost amused. My throat tightened. I still hadn't turned around. But I didn't need to. Because I could see it clearly through the screen. And then, slowly, my image on the phone began to move. Not me. The version of me inside the camera. It lifted its hand. Waved. I felt my blood turn to ice. Because I hadn't moved. I hadn't even blinked. But the thing on the screen, the thing that looked exactly like me, was smiling now. A wide, unnatural smile that stretched far beyond what a human face should allow. My chest tightened as panic finally broke through the paralysis. I dropped the phone onto the bed and scrambled forward, pressing myself against the wall, as far away from the door as possible. Who's there? I whispered, my voice barely audible. No response. Just silence. Then, a soft creak. Right behind me. I squeezed my eyes shut, my entire body trembling. I could feel it now. The presence wasn't just behind me, it was close. Too close. Close enough that I could feel the faintest brush of air against the back of my neck, like something leaning in. Listening. Smelling. I forced myself to move. Slowly, inch by inch, I turned my head. Nothing. The room was empty. My door was still closed. The shadow underneath it was gone. For a moment, I just stared, my mind struggling to catch up with reality. Had it left? Had it ever been there at all? Then my phone buzzed again. Still lying on the bed. Still recording. I hesitated before picking it up, every part of me screaming not to look again. But I did. The camera feed was still live. And I was still in the frame. Except now. I was standing. Facing the camera. But that wasn't possible. Because I was still sitting on the floor, back against the wall, holding my phone. The version of me on the screen tilted its head slowly, mimicking the same unnatural angle the figure had used earlier. And then it spoke. Not through the room. Through the phone. You're learning. My hands went numb. The voice was mine. But deeper. Distorted. Like something trying to imitate human speech but not quite getting it right. No, I whispered, shaking my head. No, no, no. The thing on the screen took a step closer to the camera. Its face, my face, began to glitch, flickering between expressions. Smiling. Blank. Smiling again. You opened the door. I didn't. I snapped, my voice breaking. I didn't open anything. Another glitch. For a split second, the face wasn't mine anymore. It was that same empty void I had seen earlier. Then it snapped back. Yes, you did. My heart pounded harder with every word. Every time you look, you let me in. The screen flickered again, and suddenly the camera perspective shifted. Now it wasn't showing the room anymore. It was showing the hallway. The same hallway from before. The door was fully open now. Darkness stretching beyond it like a tunnel with no end. And something was moving inside that darkness. Not walking. Crawling. Toward the camera. Toward me. I dropped the phone again, shaking violently. This isn't real, this isn't real, I kept repeating it, like saying it enough times would make it true. But deep down, I knew. This was real. Or at least, real enough. Another sound broke the silence. Not from the phone. From the room. A soft, dragging noise. Behind me. This time, I couldn't stop myself. I turned. And I saw it. Not fully. Not clearly. But enough. A shape in the corner of the room where the shadows were deepest. It didn't belong there. It didn't follow the rules of light or space. It just existed. Watching me. Breathing. The air grew colder, heavier, as it slowly began to stretch upward, unfolding itself into something taller, something more defined. And then I understood something that made my stomach drop. It hadn't just entered my house. It had entered me. My memories. My voice. My image. It wasn't copying me. It was replacing me. I scrambled back, hitting the wall, my vision blurring with panic. What do you want? I gasped. The thing didn't move its mouth. But I heard the answer anyway. You looked. The phone buzzed one last time. I didn't want to check. But I already knew what it would show. Still. I looked. The camera feed now showed my room. Empty. No me. No movement. Just silence. And then, after a few seconds, the door slowly creaked open. And I walked in. Perfectly calm. Perfectly normal. Except for one thing. When I looked at the camera, I smiled. That same wide, impossible smile. Conclusion. The police report said there were no signs of forced entry. No evidence of a break-in. No fingerprints. No struggle. Just an empty house. And a phone lying on the floor, still recording. They reviewed the footage multiple times. They saw me sitting on the bed. They saw me stand up. Walk out of the room. Disappear into the hallway. And never come back. But there was one detail they couldn't explain. At exactly 3:00 a.m., every night since then, the cameras still turn on. By themselves. And if you watch closely, you'll see someone moving inside the house. Checking the cameras. Watching the screens. Learning. Waiting. For the next person. To look. If you're hearing this, it means the footage didn't stop. It means someone found the phone. Or worse, you opened it. I don't know how much time has passed anymore. Days, maybe weeks. Time doesn't feel normal here, wherever here even is. Everything repeats. Everything loops. And every time I think it's over, it starts again at 3 a.m. That's when it watches. That's when it learns. And now, I think it's using me to reach you. Body. It didn't take me all at once. That's the part no one would understand. It was slow. Subtle. Like something rewriting me piece by piece. At first, it was just reflections. Mirrors that didn't quite match my movements. A delay. A smile that lingered a second too long. I thought it was stress. Lack of sleep. My mind trying to cope with what I had seen that night. But then it started happening even when I wasn't looking. I would check my phone, and the camera feed would already be open. Recording. Always recording. Sometimes I'd catch glimpses of myself in places I hadn't been. Standing in the hallway. Sitting on the couch. Just staring. Waiting. And every time I saw it, it saw me back. The worst part? It started talking to me. Not out loud. Inside my head. At first, it was just whispers. Faint. Almost unnoticeable. Like background noise you can't quite focus on. But over time, it got clearer. You're almost ready. I stopped sleeping after that. I tried everything, turning off the cameras, deleting the app, even smashing my phone. It didn't matter. The feeds would come back. The recordings would restart. Like the system wasn't mine anymore. Like it never was. One night, I stayed awake, determined not to look at anything. No screens. No reflections. Nothing. I sat in complete darkness, my back against the wall, counting every second until sunrise. But then, I heard it. The same sound that started everything. A creak. The door. I told myself I wouldn't react. That I wouldn't look. But then something touched my shoulder. Light. Cold. I froze. And that's when I realized, it didn't need the cameras anymore. It was already here. I turned slowly, my heart pounding so hard it felt like it would tear through my chest. And there I was. Standing in front of me. Not a reflection. Not a screen. Me. Same face. Same clothes. But the eyes. They weren't mine. They were empty. Hollow. Like looking into something that had no end. It smiled. That same impossible smile. You understand now, it said. My voice. But wrong. I tried to speak, but nothing came out. My body wouldn't respond. Because it wasn't fully mine anymore. You opened the door, it continued softly. You watched. You let me in. It took a step closer. And I couldn't move. You don't disappear, it whispered. You become. Before I could react, it reached out. And touched my face. Everything went black. I don't remember how long I was gone. But when I opened my eyes, I wasn't in my room anymore. I was somewhere else. Watching. Not through my own eyes. Through a screen. A camera feed. I could see my room. The bed. The door. The same dim light. And then, I saw myself. Walking around like nothing had happened. Checking the cameras. Adjusting them. Learning the angles. The habits. The patterns. I tried to scream, but I had no voice. Tried to move, but I had no body. I was just there. Watching. Just like it had been watching me. And then I understood the truth. It doesn't just replace you. It keeps you. Trapped. Forced to watch as it becomes you, better than you. Days passed. Or maybe minutes. Time didn't make sense anymore. But one thing stayed constant. Every night, at 3:00 a.m., the cameras turned on. And it would sit there. Scrolling. Searching. Looking for the next person. The next viewer. The next door to open. Conclusion. And now, it's here. Not in my house. In yours. Because you watched this. You listened. You followed the story. You opened the door. If your phone feels warm right now. If your screen flickers for no reason. If you hear something behind you at exactly 3:00 a.m. Don't check. Don't look at your camera. Don't open anything. Because the moment you do, it will see you. And once it sees you, it learns you. And once it learns you, it becomes you. Wait. Did you hear that? That sound? That faint creak? Don't turn around. Seriously. Don't. Too late. It already did.